CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. All right, thank you for tuning in, everyone. Today, we're going to be joined by Joel Leonard. You can see him here on screen right now because I like to put him on while I'm doing the intro here. And he is hyper-focused on building the next generation of skilled technicians. He also has a ton, I say that stuff all the time, a ton of experience in CMMS. That's computerized maintenance management software. He's been around maintenance management. I mentioned the skilled trades and beyond. We're going to chop it up about all that right here and right now. Joel Leonard, welcome to CMMS Radio.
Thank you so much for having me, Greg. I appreciate the time today.
Yeah, I got to put on my Superman cape right quick. I always forget to put that.
Horse.
yeah, no kidding. Wasn't that something the way they put it? Did the Clark Kent thing there, and I got a kick out of that, man. That was good stuff, man. Talk about pressure, man. That's
3-hour wait to do your job, and everybody's counting on you. Wow.
Oh yeah. Sounds a lot like maintenance management.
Yeah. You got the whole world. You got the plant shut down. You got everybody wondering when you're going to get that one machine up and running, and that's all you're paid to do is keep that running, and it's down, and you got to figure it out, or the whole plant shuts down. What's going to
happen? So this is a really good place to kind of talk about one thing in particular, because you and I chopped it up a little bit before, and there's something I wanted to get to pretty quick early in the episode. So you've done thousands of CMMS deployments. You've worked with so many different people, and I want to understand how you got into the world of maintenance in the first place, going back as far as you want to, and just kind of bring us up to current. But here's what I'm after. There's going to be a really special story about something that you did that we talked about last week. So first, how'd you get into this space in the first place? How far back does it go? Talk to us.
Well, I got into it back in 1989 when I left Thomasville Furniture. The prettiest girl in the whole factory chewed tobacco. And I realized that I didn't go to college to work in a furniture factory, although it was quite rewarding. In fact, during their training program, they put me on a management track to where I was going to be in 10 years, I was going to be a plant manager. And to get into what I was doing, they had me do every job in the furniture factory. And one of those, and the most fascinating guy in the whole factory, I thought was the least respected. He was the maintenance manager. He was on the loudspeaker. They were calling for him. And the cutting department and the shaping department and the shipping department, something was always down, and they were always bringing alerts to bring him there. And he didn't have a lot of respect, didn't have a lot of resources, but the plant didn't get going until he was there. And so that gave me an appreciation for this guy's job. And then I got asked to work in telemarketing for a computerized maintenance management software company out of Greensboro, North Carolina. And some people may know who they may be. And I graduated with the business degree, and one of the focal points that I had was in marketing. And so I got into helping them uncover clients, and I was determined to get out of the factory. I had splinters, took me years to get all the splinters out of my hands and all of that. And so I got into doing that and did whatever they needed to have done. And then I worked my way into sales and marketing and help them create some strategies that a lot of people still talk about to this day. We were the first company to have a spokesperson, and we didn't hire him for talking. We hired him to get into the business and get awareness. And we had Richard Petty come out, and he came to us in Chicago, and we had 5,000 people in our booth. Meanwhile, two companies we were competing against just went public, and they had all this money but they didn't have the people. That we actually had their staff in our booth during that time frame. And that all happened because I went down to Level Cross, North Carolina, and talked to Richard Petty's crew chief and convinced them to come to Chicago. So it was a pretty neat event. So anyway, I helped set up over 1,000 computerized maintenance management systems, and a lot of the functionality and features that are people take for granted today, we were actually building back then. This is 1989, 1990 time frame, and 96 we were in Chicago with Richard. But we would sit around the table and talk about what the customers were wanting, and we would help companies that were introduced. Now they're kind of the replacement CMMS market. Everybody has it, and they want to get something that works, and so they'll go buy something new. But back then, that was everything was new. Nobody had them then. Our file server was actually a 286 at the time, and we had AS400s and System 36s and a DOS version of the product back then, and we had Windows that wasn't even out. But anyway, I was frustrated because it seemed like we would go into the customers and they didn't have a clue as to what was going on because they didn't have any reports. Everything was handwritten, and you were lucky if it was written. And they didn't know what was going on. And the history, they couldn't collate anything. They couldn't figure out what was actually done or not without having to go through a bunch of notebooks. And it was very cumbersome and very difficult to figure all that out. Well, years later, after we were setting these things up, then we had the opposite problem. They didn't know what was going on because there was 600 reports and 200 graphs, and it was just too much information. And believe it or not, Richard Petty let me drive his race car, and I got to get behind the wheel and see their dashboard. And that sparked an idea that took off, and actually most CMMS systems now have dashboards because now at a glance you can see the status, you can see the key performance indicators, you can see what's going on just at a glance. And when you're going 200 miles an hour and you got 40 other cars down the track, you can't sit there and analyze it. You just got to make decisions based on, and they calibrate each gauge to each track. So if everything's pointing straight up, you don't have to think. You know where things are. If something's way over here, you got a problem. If something's way over there, you got a problem. So using that NASCAR formula was really helping businesses now, and that was something I pushed for back when I was in it back in the 90s. So I left in 2008 and then got involved with some other computerized maintenance management consolidation companies or implementation companies, and worked in consulting for that for several years. And then I got involved in the Association for Facilities Engineering as a volunteer, and actually became their vice president of membership, and realized during that how many people were going to be retiring. And the training issues was really a big issue. So I got recruited to work for a spinoff of Burlington Industries skilled training program, and actually ran that for several years, Impact Learning Center. And that was quite rewarding. We actually set up the training programs to help companies develop the skilled talent. And then that's when I realized that my life's mission. There's two most important days of your life: the day you were born and the day you find your life's purpose. And I realized then, Greg, that I needed to really hone my direction and what I wanted to do. So I made it my life's mission is to build the next generation of skilled technicians. And I've been doing that now for 24 years. And it's taken all different types of areas of focus, but I've been able to travel the world 5 times. I've been speaking at national and international conferences, and have really helped raise the awareness. And one of the things that we've done it with is to actually play created the first ever maintenance songs. We created the maintenance crisis song. And that song wasn't really getting played because people were hesitant not to play the kind of music that they're used to hearing. So I went out to musicians and got them to re-record my song with the same music, same lyrics, and they actually created the hip hop, bluegrass, blues, reggae, gospel, funk, all the 15 different genres, and it's even been recorded in Greek and French and translated into German and Italian and all different types of languages all over the world. And again, it's been played at well over 100 engineering conferences, been played on CNBC, National Public Radio, uh, and it has been amazing the acceptance of that. And in fact, I wrote a follow-up song called "Because We Need to Get Both Genres or both genders into the profession. We don't have enough maintenance women, and when you meet a maintenance woman, you got somebody who's detail oriented, you got somebody that's organized, and somebody that gets stuff done. So I got on this advocacy of getting women into the field by writing a song called "Find Me a Maintenance Woman." You may laugh and you may jeer, but you can keep your Britney Spears because I need a woman that can work with gear. See, I can't use a girl like J-Lo. I need a woman to make things go. One that knows how DC current flows. Won't you find me a maintenance woman? So through that is evolved into my life's mission, and I've been serving on White House panels, various national engineering groups. The National Defense Industrial Association had me be the chairman of the Workforce Development Committee for 7 years. So I've been able to get the message out. You see now that it was really last year, believe it or not, in 2023 was an historic year. This is the first time that the general colleges went down like 14%, and skilled trade schools went up 17% in enrollments. So the kids are getting the message. They're finally realizing that we need maintenance and manufacturers. We don't need YouTube promoters and all that you see nowadays. Everybody wants to have their YouTube channel. Well, that's good, but not. You can't have the electrical grid work if you don't have maintenance people. So
that's a fact, man. That's I'll tell you what. So when you talk about all this stuff and how you've made differences in all these different arenas, leveraging your experience, this whole idea of the skilled trades gap and the fact that we need skilled technicians, maintenance technicians, and beyond has been a problem for some time. And a lot of people talk about how it's getting worse. I've noticed, though, recently some things about Generation Z, starting to really move towards and embrace
yeah,
these skilled trades and these other things instead of just, oh, I'm going to be an influencer and just talk and all that kind of stuff. They're trying to make an impact and realize they're recognizing, one, you don't have to be strapped with debt by going to get a college education, which if you're into all that, there's nothing wrong with that. What we're saying, I think, is there's another way. And what we also are, I think, happy about is if even a couple of them here and there start going in that direction, entering the trades, that gives us a chance of being okay. Because that gap with, people retiring and knowledge leaving the building. And by the way, for everybody out there, the reason I'm passionate about computerized maintenance management software is it acts as a historian to capture a lot of that data that's going to leave the building one of these days in
yeah.
one way or another. But with the skilled trades, Joel, and the things that you've worked on, I wanted to kind of switch gears and ask you about um, Maker's Maker. Can you tell me a little bit about Maker's Maker?
Well, when I was doing all the evangelism, trying to get people to realize that we need to focus on maintenance and development, they called me the maintenance evangelist. Well, I got invited there, believe it or not, back in 2012 time frame. I got introduced to maker spaces, and a maker space is like it's like a gym. It's like a YMCA or a fitness center, except you don't lift weights. You make stuff. They have memberships, and there's if you Google makerspace near me, you can find more than likely there's 5,000 of them across the United States. There are a lot of there's several chains out there. There's several. Most of them are homegrown, and a lot of them are in the universities where they're kind of closed shop. What I like is the community-focused ones, where they kind of sprung up out of nowhere, kind of a grassroots effort. And there's a national group called the Nation of Makers that helps kind of it's the umbrella group that helps support all these and pulls in all that. They have national conferences. In fact, they in 2019 they awarded me with the biggest Maker Advocate Award because I went around to 40 states and traveled all over the country, 40,000 miles, and met with several hundred maker spaces. And what I was focusing on is because again, these are like gyms, but it's as opposed to lifting weights, you make stuff. So you've got 3D printers, you've got lasers, you've got CNC equipment, and you've got woodworking, metalworking, pottery, all kinds of stuff available to you. And even textiles. I mean, so there's something for everybody in there. And that's speaking of maintenance. If I was a maintenance manager and I was frustrated with the candidate pool that I was getting through the door through HR, I would send my HR team and I would go to a maker space and tell them what I'm looking for and pay them. You could pay what cost you $1,000 to get a one ad. You pay them. That's their rent. They would love to help you find talent. They've got probably most of them have 200 to 300 members. Chances are they got somebody, young kid in there that grew up playing with electronics that would probably love to work in the maintenance department and get some good paying income. I mean,
Well,
heck, Toyota Motors is paying $42 an hour. That's $80,000 a year. These kids would love to find a good manufacturer to work for. So
absolutely. That the thing you're talking about there also is the folks that I've known over the years that are makers tend to carry forth into industries that are makers, and they seem to be incredibly adept. They develop the skill to fix the things that they use to make because they don't have anyone to help them, and they go, well, I make stuff, that means I can fix stuff.
yeah,
And they already know, I don't know what the percentage would be, but they will get in there and figure it out because they love that stuff. It's a different kind of problem solving that we, you know,
they take
regular
it as
people that
their
might not be
passion.
maintenance.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
opposed to singing as their passion is to get in there, get their fingers dirty, and figure it out. And so
Yeah.
that's the when I discovered that, that's when it was like a light bulb moment for me because that's when I realized, like, wait a minute, here I am screaming, singing, doing everything I can to get people to wake up that we need makers, people to maintenance people to fix things. Boom, they're being built in these little bitty places all around the country, and they would jump at the chance to work with manufacturers. So, in fact, some of the groups I've seen, the maintenance department goes and donates some old equipment, and it helps the makers get their stuff done. They also donate some of the some of the imp pipes and some of the welding equipment and some of that stuff. Boom, they
That's
really are hatching, and that's where we need to go. Your members, whoever's watching this, they need to Google maker space near me and start adopting some of these spaces that are around them. And if there's not one there, call me and I'll help you build one. That's what I'm doing. And I'm also helping set up maker fairs. A maker fair, Greg, is where you have the celebration of making. And it's a wonderful enterprise. It's like the best show and tell on earth. So I've been hired by the group down in Louisiana, the Sci-Port. Their science centers found out about me and what I've done, because I've really, a lot of people don't know in the manufacturing or maintenance world, I've been doing some really crazy stuff. I've got a 50-pound hammer, the Thorminator, half Thor, half Terminator. It's amazing. I've had over 20,000 people pick this up, even taking that to New Zealand with me. It's hectic. It was difficult to get through customs, but I've been really waking people up. And so this group in Louisiana in Shreveport, November 16th at the LSU Shreveport campus, I'm going to have a technology tailgate party on the 15th, and we're going to have drones, Greg. We're going to have a fusion of food and technology. So we're going to have drones. I don't know if you know this, but the history or not, but Shreveport's where Hank Williams wrote the song Jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. You know that song? So if you hadn't, Google it. But it's an amazing song, and I was like, well, let's have drones drop the ingredients of jambalaya out of the sky into giant pots, and that'll get people's attention when they see food falling out of the sky. And since it's November 15th, right before Thanksgiving, we're going to do like WKRP. We're going to have turkey legs flop out of the sky with drones, and people can get them some turkey. So
it's hilarious. Never in a million years would I have thought there'd be a WKRP reference on CMMS radio. So that's solid. I want to ask you something going back to and this is all great. I'll put some stuff in the episode about that too, so people can check it out. But when it comes to, I want to switch back to CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, and maintenance management in general. So I'm more about like people and process, but the technology is great if you have that already set. I wanted to ask, when it comes to the frontline workforce being connected to the business in a meaningful way where everybody's kind of bought in, even back then when you were working on this, and maybe even when you were teaching people how to set up a dashboard and why this is great, was that still a challenge back then, how the business in and of itself doesn't necessarily see the frontline workforce, and that's probably one of the areas that creates the resistance to successful CMMS deployment?
Well, I got to tell you a story that pops to mind with bringing up that encapsulates exactly what you're sharing here. There was a company who had success setting up their CMMS system, and somebody in accounting comes to a meeting and says, "Look how much it costs to do all these PMs. Let's cancel the preventive maintenance schedule, and that'll save us a bunch of money." They literally tried to do that. And that's what the shortfall and the thinking that people that are disconnected from maintenance and manufacturing and the accounting department, they're constantly trying to cut the cost. I got asked to be the keynote speaker and the chairman of the Middle East Maintenance Managers Conference, and that was quite an experience because we watch all these movies, and if anybody's wearing those clothes that they wear in Saudi Arabia, you instantly think about a bomb going off or something. And these people have the same problems we do. And there was a guy that was responsible for doing all of the retrofits and doing all the maintenance for all of the oil rigs out on the end. And he had a $20 million, imagine this, he had a $20 million paint budget. And somebody in accounting was about to cut that budget. And the reason they have to paint it periodically is because the corrosion from the salt and all of the ocean causes the pipes to go thin, and then they'll have leaks, and then they'll have all these different all the oil in the water. And when they do that over there, the person responsible for it goes to jail. They track that down and they put them in jail. So he says, all right, if you're going to cut out the paint budget, You can have my job because I'm not going to go to jail because you want to save some money. I got to have paint. So it's those kind of fights. And that's why CMMS is so important because you have the data. You can go back in and prove to them what the cost and the opportunity. When you start showing how expensive it is and the downtime that you had when you were doing primarily emergency maintenance, and then you show them the downtime decrease than you have when you do preventive maintenance, and you say, yeah, it costs money to do the PMs, but look how much more it costs if you have to do the emergency repair. Those
That's
are the
it's
battles that they're in the trenches that everybody that's in maintenance has to fight on a day-to-day basis. It's the ignorance and apathy that's killing us because they aren't connected. And that's why the job that I had when they were in Thomasville, they made you take on every job so you had an appreciation for every function of what their needs are. And you learn respect for each one of those workers. We don't do that in our society. We send somebody in accounting and all they do is sit behind a desk and look at a computer screen, and they ain't got a clue as to what it takes to run that business.
yeah. I would love, and this is, I, I think this. I don't say it all the time, but I'm going to say it now. I think in all these organizations that have maintenance operations, which essentially every company does, there's something, even a little bit of maintenance, right? I think CFOs and accounting folks need to go and see what's going on and really learn it and even be tested on it later to make sure that they've adopted those perspectives, because what you see on a balance sheet is very, very different than what you see on the plant floor, in a facility, out on the grounds, on and on like this. And it's not that they don't get it, it's that they're doing what they do. And then for maintenance at the same time, they need a better understanding oftentimes of, well, how does what I'm doing impact the balance sheet? And then all of a sudden you have people starting to understand and get aligned and see where the value is. Like the guy that wants to cut the $20 million paint budget, he just doesn't, he sees $20 million as an expense when he doesn't realize, well, if you cut that $20 million, you're going to create $100 million plus problem that we will not ever be able to get away from. Not to mention, you got to throw some guy in jail. I mean, it's crazy. So I want to switch gears. When it comes to computerized maintenance management software, CMMS, what do you think companies get right that provide these solutions versus what they get wrong in their approach to trying to help the industry?
Well, restate that because I'm not sure if I fully grasped what you were asking.
Okay, so if let's pretend that I'm a CMMS provider, I have a solution and I provide it and I'm out there in the world selling it. I'm trying to find opportunities to sell my software. It solves a specific problem. And I'm wondering, in your opinion, over the years and even at present times, what are those companies that provide the CMMS to manufacturers and maintenance people? What are they missing? Is there something that they're missing and not understanding about the people that they serve?
Well, the thing is, and again, this is my perspective. I'm not sure if other people will agree with me, but to set these up, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of labor, and the people doing this are already maxed out already, and so they've already been cut. I mean, they've been doing everything with less and less until they can do everything with nothing is the goal that companies have, and they don't invest enough in getting the support to help implement these properly. That's the problem. If you got bad data in, you got bad data out. And so the CMMS providers, if they can figure out ways to automate the implementation of these, and they probably have ways. I'm not into it as much as I used to be, but that's a big gap there. If you can get if somebody has to stop doing the fixing the machine in order to type something in, that's really a challenge. Now there is something that's in development, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. And there's a guy named Javier Ortiz. You need to get him on this program. He's created a thing called Forge Technologies. He has really worked with implementing. Several years ago, they came out with Google Glasses. You remember those where you have the
Yep.
video camera and you have all that, and it's all integrated in there, and it actually records and can play with an audio with the microphone. You can actually dial in and have somebody talk in your ear as you're out in the job. Well, he has actually built on that, and that is a great extension because he has created the links to the CMMS. He can actually, you got within those little lenses on the screen of your glasses, it actually shows you the procedures. It shows you what's going on. You got a recording, and you could even have the top guy who might be in a retirement home. He could actually be dialed in, and he could show you what he used to do and what works on there now, and it could coach you through that step if you're brand new and don't know how to fix it. Those
Yeah.
are that technology using Google Glass, and they don't call it Google Glass because it's actually more robust than Google Glass. But Javier Ortiz of Forge Technologies out of New Bern, North Carolina, is a guy you need to get on this program and get him to show off what he's doing, because
Yeah.
I think that that is the future, and that's how. I mean, you're out there in the field and you can't figure it out, well, you could actually call the vendor, and the vendor could actually be dialed in who sold this to you, show you how to fix it.
Yeah, yeah. That's incredible, and I think there's other technologies that are similar, and I'm sure with all this, AI and all this machine
Yeah,
learning and all those things, they're going to start to kind of do that. I've seen some pretty cool stuff. I was just at a trade conference, and this was last week, where it was healthcare specific. It was what used to be known as the ASHI conference,
yeah,
and um, what's really cool that I saw there is in some of those CMMSs that are dedicated to the healthcare space, healthcare facilities,
yeah,
you can actually virtually walk through spaces, and it's not real time, but man, you can see where things are. You can do it with procedures, super clean video, almost like I just put you on my shoulder and walked you through. And
yeah,
I said, "Hey, Joel, this is where this, receiver pump is. And then over here, it's going to come out on this side. And this is the doohickey we're looking for." I know it's not called a doohickey. I'm just having a little fun.
yeah. I know what you
But
mean. Yeah,
I think these technologies are great. The one thing I always tell people is, hey, be real careful with your technology, because it's not a magic silver bullet. It's not a unicorn that's going to shoot a bunch of rainbows out of its horn and fix all your problems. It's going to be people and process first. And you got to use this stuff once you get it. So the deployment's important. I think all that you shared was really important, how much time and effort's involved. And I want to kind of switch us in now to this is one of my favorite parts of the first episode somebody ever does on CMMS radio, and it's called the fun question segment. And I'd like to ask you three what I think are fun questions, just so people can kind of get to know you. Is that cool, Joel?
yeah. I guess.
All right, man. These are all softballs. No wrong answers here. This is more just for us to have a little bit of fun towards the end of the episode here. Number one, what is your favorite music?
Well, the songs that I've been writing, I guess, fit into my first category there. I'm a classic rock guy, but yeah, the maintenance crisis songs are very people. You can Google them and find them on YouTube. Again, there's 15 genres of that song out there now. So, and
Very
find
cool.
me
And
a
I'm
maintenance woman. And I just wrote a new song. It's the gets into the issues that we're dealing with today. You want to get past your financial mess, clean up your act, and go pass a drug test. Take this job and love it. Soon boomers won't be here anymore.
Point well taken. Point well taken. So next fun question is, what is your favorite sport or hobby? And on sport, it could be one you just like to watch as opposed to play.
Well, my hobby, people, they say golf and fishing and whatever. I grew up playing basketball. I used to play with Michael Jordan. You can see my finger here. I can't play that anymore. But but believe it or not, what I kind of consider my hobby is I see a lot of mom and pop business, especially restaurants during COVID, struggle. So I take it my free time. I go coach and give because so many restaurants do put out their sign, their shingle, and they say, "Hey, we're here. Come in." Then they complain at the end of the day, nobody came here. And they're so busy working inside their business that they don't go work the community. They don't get out into the community. Nobody knows to go there, and nobody has sampled their food. So, believe it or not, I'm known in several restaurants. They call me family. I've got a Palestine family. I've got a Haitian family. I've got Asian families. I've got all these Indian families. I got all these different restaurants who've adopted me because I've adopted them, and I love helping them because that's where you see the rubber hit the road. You see people's futures get changed because they're now some of their dreams are coming true because they implement some of the business strategies that I told them. I had businesses during COVID that restaurants actually donate food to the first responders. Well, after they started doing that to the fire departments and the healthcare groups, boom, their business now became known as the community resource, and the community stepped up to help them. And again, I'm now called the Black Haitian or the White Haitian, and at this restaurant, they love seeing me walk through the door because I've gotten them. They actually became the food truck. When they had a food truck, they were North Carolina's best food truck. Now they have a restaurant, and they had difficulty getting people to come to it. Well, now that they got the opposite problems. They got to deal with lines. They got to deal with labor issues because I said, hey, I can help you. I can help you with the full problems or the empty problems, but I can't help you with the full problems. That's something you got to figure out. But that's what I love to do. And I'm sorry I'm talking so much about it, but it really, and what's great about that is that takes my mind into something totally different, totally outside of what we do. I put my business world into it and I put my little twist to it. And then that reinvigorates me back to go back and help build the next generation of skilled technicians.
I think it's great, and this is a good lead into fun question number 3. Now, this is the big question of the fun questions. I would like to hear, I think someone else out there might, who knows, what is your philosophy, perspective, opinion, or approach to the concept of work-life balance?
Well, it can get out of balance, especially when you're hard charging and you got a mission to fill. And there has been times I've had relationships crumble as a result of that. And I now have a partner that's I was a caregiver for a gal that passed literally 2 years next week, and I now have a new friend that's helping me and traveling, setting up plans for the future, learning new things. This gal that I'm with now is from China. I mean, I'm learning about she, which means thank you. I'm learning a whole nother language, a whole nother scope of things. And it's amazing how much, even though it's just a different language, or we speak, I understand about 80% of what she says, but which is up 10% of what I was 2 weeks ago. But but she has been helping me with my health care. I'm exercising an hour every day. She's literally, I don't know if you heard it, she's in there cooking for me right now. We're eating bamboo for dinner. I mean, it's amazing. We grow our own food. We eat a lot. 80% of our food is vegetables. 20% is carbs and meat. I mean, it's amazing. I've literally gotten a better appreciation for life and how to better live it. And the best thing to do is find a partner that's totally different than you. We all get into this is really you want to be philosophical. Well, we like to hang around people that are like us because we feel comfortable, but we grow by being around people that are totally different. And this gal's 5 foot. I'm not going to turn it around on the video on her right now. She'd kill me. But she's only like 5'2". I'm 6'4". We're total opposites as far as size and background and all that. But her values. I mean, America is so screwed up right now, and I'm not going to get into politics, but I'm just, it used to be you was bad if you it's bad to smoke, and it's good to smoke dope or sample all these CBDs and all these other things, and getting out cocktails and social districts and all the gambling that's now being encouraged, and all of that. The values are kind of screwy, and people. I mean, I literally met two 20-year-old guys that were sitting across from me, and they were on their phone, and they were just going crazy. I was like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm making money gambling right now." And I'm like, and they said it's a lot better than working in a factory. And I was like, well, how are we going to have anything here if we don't have somebody working in a factory?
Good point.
We got the leisure focus that everybody has. It's important to have a work. It's important to get back and get to do a job. I mean, we need people so bad to be maintenance people. It's not It's not an option. It's a necessity.
Yeah.
Singing and dancing is an option.
It's true. I tell people all the time, and it sounds cliche, but this holds up well. If all the maintenance people go home for a single day, we're going to have a problem that we can't necessarily recover from, because it's happening everywhere, right? I had an AC failure a week and a half ago, whatever it was, and I'm not an HVAC tech. I'm not going to get in there and play around with that 220, none of that stuff. And I have to have somebody come out, and we get into all these great conversations about that stuff. And speaking of work-life balance, the reason I say there are no wrong answers is we're all having these kind of experiences for ourselves. And there's little things that people can pick up on and go, oh man, well, Joel was talking about this and how he's taking this different perspective. I never thought about it like that. So that's why I ask these questions.
I hope somebody gets something out of my life.
I'm sure they will.
I do want to share with you something that when I spoke before Congress, I was on a panel back in 2008. And during this this is in spring before the recession hit. During this conference, I was the only non-millionaire, non-PhD on this panel. Afterwards, I had like 70 people lined up to talk to me because I was giving them things that they could understand, and also that it was meaningful to them. And one of the things I said, and Pete Little taught me, that actually made me memorize this. He's one of my mentors. John Gardner said this back when he was working in the LBJ and the Carter administration, and it really is. It really does capture what we're trying to fight and getting maintenance to get better appreciation. So I'm going to use the word plumbing, and I want you to think about maintenance when I say this. So the society that scorns excellence in plumbing, because plumbing is a humble activity, and tolerates shoddiness in philosophy, because philosophy is an exalted activity, will have neither good plumbing nor good philosophy. Neither their pipes nor their theories will hold water.
That's a good one. I have to think about that one for a while, and I think everybody else will too. And I think it's an ideal bookend point, at least for this first episode we've done together, Joel. So first of all, I want to thank you for spending this time. It took us a little while to get this organized, so thank you for that. Also, folks, if you want to start your own conversation with Joel, you can find him on LinkedIn. It's Joel, Joel, and it's Leonard, Leonard. And I'm going to put a few elements into the episode so people can find some of these other things. We definitely want to have them check out some of those songs you've written and that other people have performed. So that'll be really cool. I want to thank you for sharing your insights and experiences, Joel. Thanks for being on CMMS Radio with me.
Well, thank you, Greg. Thanks for continuing to strive to lift up the industry that desperately needs it. And I appreciate you and the time you've given me here. And hopefully this does give some inspiration to some folks. And again, hopefully more people will do what I'm doing, start building the next generation of skilled techs. If we don't build it, it ain't gonna happen.
That's a fact, man. That is definitely a fact. Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.